Are these cameras simply protecting citizens in Belgrade? Or could they also be used to track them? These questions are raising both concern and denial, and have even drawn in European Union institutions. On this busy street, we meet a cybersecurity expert on a mission. This digital forensics engineer is tagging cameras that he says could be used for facial recognition.
These cameras have the ability to recognize faces, recognize objects, license plates, etc. Basically every human transaction that's happening around them. All these data are then being stored into a database which is managed by the Ministry of Interior and the police, which can then analyze them and cross-reference them with other data sources and other pieces of information they might have.
Digital rights activists say they have located at least 1,200 smart cameras, all supplied by the Chinese tech giant Huawei. Authorities adamantly deny that any facial recognition software is active or in use. According to them, the cameras are just controlling traffic and helping fight crime in usual ways. But activists are dubious. They have drawn a diagram of what they say is the government's surveillance platform.
Belgrade is quite a safe city. We don't think as experts that there are any reasonable foundations for implementing such an intrusive system in a city like Belgrade.
What are the sources you have that makes you think that the system is in place?
The Ministry of Interior, the police, has produced 2 data protection impact assessments, which are basically documents prescribed with the law on data protection in Serbia, and submitted those to the Commissioner for Data Protection, which is the data protection authority in Serbia. The Commissioner rejected both impact assessments because they were not comprehensive enough, but still there were a lot of information that we could use.
Activists say the very fact the government consulted the Commissioner for Personal Data Protection proves its intention to use biometric surveillance. 5 years ago, Serbia's Interior Ministry and Huawei signed a contract aimed at increasing street security. The total cost of this is unknown, but critics say it's worth tens of millions of euros. Installed from 2019, critics say the new cameras seem to have popped up during the pandemic lockdown, adding to their suspicions. We repeatedly contacted the President and the Prime Minister's offices, the Interior Ministry and the police, but no one accepted to meet us. The Commissioner for Personal Data Protection did answer our questions. He says that the government has reassured him that no facial recognition software is in use, as current laws don't allow biometric data to be processed. When asked why smart cameras have been installed then, he said that the process lacks transparency.
Little is known, and that creates suspicion among citizens. That's something that should not happen. I think there's no reason for the government or for the Ministry of Internal Affairs to withhold information on their safe city and safe society plans, on where those plans are at the moment, and how those plans are executed.
Safe city and safe society.
As Commissioner for Personal Data Protection, he says he receives complaints and questions from citizens.
There's more and more talk about the possibility of facial recognition and the processing of personal data. Citizens lack information, so they come to us in search of answers. They're worried about the number of cameras being set up. They want to know the number of public spaces where cameras have been installed. They want to know if their personal data are being processed right now or not.
If Serbia is not using its smart cameras now, will it use them down the line? Serbia is a candidate to join the European Union, and Europe has raised concerns. An EU spokesperson tells us that current EU data protection rules forbid biometric data from being processed, unless it's under very specific conditions.
As a candidate country, Serbia has committed to align its legislation with the current and future EU rules, including on personal data protection. Serbia adopted to this end in 2018 a new personal data protection law. We monitor this topic, including in our policy dialogue with the Serbian authorities. They've informed us that Serbia has put on hold the processing of biometric personal data until the relevant legislation is amended and aligned with the law on personal data protection.
Should people worry about the smart cameras deployed across Belgrade? These experts in cybersecurity say that technology has made real-time surveillance readily available, affordable and risky. To raise awareness, they have equipped an old coffee machine with cameras, sensors, microphones and a simple software able to easily stock all kinds of data.
If you have cameras around the city, and I'm just moving around the city, and someone puts a mark and says, "Hey system, let me know when Vlada is here or Vlada is there," when you see him, and literally you have real-time following where I'm moving around. And that's possible with the facial recognition. That's why it's dangerous. I can say, no, I'm not a criminal, I don't care. I mean, as usually people say, I don't have anything to hide. Where I go, what I do. But it's not the case. We're human beings. We need some sort of privacy, even if we didn't do anything wrong, right?
Other than personal privacy, what are the potential dangers of smart surveillance for human rights? We meet up with a lawyer working for the George Soros-backed Open Society Foundation, tasked with spreading civil liberties. She says a public debate on citizens' rights and freedoms is long overdue in the country.
We talk about freedom of movement or freedom of expression, freedom of assembly. We talk also about freedom of practicing one's own religion. So we talk about a lot of freedoms and rights enshrined in the Constitution, but also in the European Convention on Human Rights. And we need to balance the measure proposed, such as, for example, facial recognition all over the city, for the purpose of fight against crime, as it is, without any specification, without any limitation, against those rights and freedoms.
The government's reluctance to clarify the reason why it installed a system of mass surveillance, albeit inoperative for the time being, has fueled a climate of suspicion.